Hi there, welcome back. If you're like me, you can hardly believe that we're opening the week 4 module. That means we're about halfway done with the class. So things are moving really fast and I'm really proud of the work that you've been doing so far. So the purpose of this quick video is just to get you familiar with this midterm assignment that you're going to be working on. If you go into this week, your week 4 module work opened up. And if you go in there on the left-hand side, you have a little table of contents, and you can see that you can go to midterm information and resources. And that's where I am right now on my screen. And I want to go through a couple of these things for you. The first thing I want to do is go through the midterm paper guidelines. So that's here. Great. We've opened this up, and basically here's how this is going to work. For your midterm project, you're going to interview 2 people and discuss your communication skills. So I would recommend trying to do a personal source and a professional source if you have that. The reason why I recommend this is because sometimes, based on our social roles, we might communicate very differently in our personal lives versus at work. For instance, you might be a really great listener at work, but you might that might be a place you need to sort of work in your personal life. So I like to get those 2 different viewpoints if at all possible. Of course, I know a lot of you are just full-time students and maybe aren't working right now. And if that's the case, no big deal. You can have 2 personal sources. You won't get marked down for that. But if you have the opportunity, I really recommend getting a personal and a professional source so that you can have sort of the 2 different viewpoints of your communication. So what's going to happen is you're going to interview 2 people and you're going to discuss your communication skills. And you want to make sure that you're communicating, that you're interviewing someone about your communication that you interact with frequently, because you want to be able to get some good feedback. So on this document right here, I've laid out sort of what the paper's about, and then also some of the requirements here. It's a 4 to 5 page paper, and it is due in the Dropbox by 10 o'clock p.m. on Sunday, February 16th. So that gives you about 2 weeks to get this done. So I really want you to get started early so that you're not stressed out at the end, because it's a longer paper and I don't want you to have to cram it all in at the end. And it does require interviews as well, so I want to make sure you have time to do those properly and to digest that information and be able to write your paper well. So on this piece of paper, what I've done on this midterm guideline sheet is I've sort of given you a suggested layout of your paper. So for instance, you can give me an introduction to your first interview. Who did you meet with? How do you know this person? This might be really interesting background information for me and for you to think about. How long you've known the person, what the nature of the relationship is. Is it romantic? Is this person your supervisor at work? Is this your mother? Is this your best friend? And where did you meet? And this isn't a question of where did you meet 15 years ago. This is a question of where did you meet to do the interview. And I want you to think about that too. If any of those sort of systems or social constructs, did they influence your interviews at all? For instance, if you're going to go interview your mother and you interview your mom in your childhood home, even though you might be an adult now, maybe you fall back into those parent-child roles, and that dictates some of your communication. So it's an interesting thing to think about and to sort of process through when you're writing this paper. For the first interview, I gave you some very basic questions that you could ask, but again, anything that we've covered so far, and if you've read ahead a little bit, anything from the text is fair game. So be sure to ask about any communication skills that you're just generally curious about. I gave you some examples like, what do they think about your communication skills generally? What does the interviewee perceive to be your strengths, weaknesses? And you can ask about specific things too, maybe about your perceptions. Are they right? Are they often wrong? What can you do about that? How are your listening skills? Anything that we've covered is fair game. And what I want to say is that when you're writing this paper, a lot of times where students kind of falter is that they'll ask questions about their listening or something like that, and they won't use terms from the course to describe what they're experiencing. So be sure that, for instance, if you're talking about listening and you say, yeah, I'm not a very good listener, they think I just sit around and pretend to listen. Well, you're talking about pseudo-listening, and we're talking about that in class, and we've covered that in class. So use that proper terminology to sort of describe what your observations were, what others said about you, and in your reflections as well. Because this is really a really big, solid chance for you to take what you've been learning and take your own life and kind of combine those 2 worlds and think about what your communication skills are like and get someone else's opinion and then be able to process that through. Now, at the end of that, you might want to do some reflections about that first interview. So, did you agree with the interview? Did you disagree? And then what I want you to do, and this is very important, is I want you to, for each interview, I want you to talk about how you're going to improve maybe some of the weaknesses that you talked about. So I want you to give me two things. I want you to give me specific short-term goals, and I want you to give me long-term goals. So let's say you have a goal that you are going to, we'll stick with listening since we've been talking about that you are going to do a better job of listening for detail at work. So a short-term goal might be tomorrow or for the rest of the week, I'm going to bring a notepad around with me and I'm going to take notes. And your long-term goal might be, I want to have a planner, or I want to make sure that I'm writing notes down, or I want to make sure that I'm asking or doing perception checks at work to make sure I understand what I need to be doing. So specific short-term and long-term goals for each of the interviews. What do you want to work on, and how are you going to work on it? Because it's great to set a goal. I'd like to be in the Olympics one day, but you're never going to meet those goals until you have some steps to get there. So that's what I'm really kind of pushing you towards, is having these steps, thinking through what specifically you can do to meet those communication goals that are going to be an outcome of this interview. And again, right here on the paper, you're going to do your interview 2. You can introduce it the same, you can ask the same questions if you're curious about the comparison. If you have specific things you want to ask one person versus the other person, that's fine too. And as a paper summary as well, I want you to sort of think cumulatively about lessons learned, any takeaways you have, any questions you were left with, basically any general impressions. Now, a lot of students will ask me, hey Pat, is it okay if I do if I put the reflections at the end of each interview? That's fine. The layout isn't as important to me as getting everything in there as the content. So if you're more comfortable with a different layout, feel free to do that. You're also very much allowed to use subheadings. So if you want to say interview 1 and write that, and write interview 2 and write that, you can do that. That's no problem. Again, I'm primarily concerned with the content and that you're connecting your communication, learning, and self-awareness together to make some goals to come out of it. So that's this piece of paper here, and that is the midterm paper guideline. Now I want to back out of this, back into D2L, and I want to go to your midterm paper grading rubric. Now your midterm paper, 4 to 5 pages again, is worth 100 points, so it's a pretty nice chunk of points for you here. This looks a little bit like the journal grading rubric, but I just want to quickly go through this. And you're always going to want to look at these exceed standards and really make sure that you're doing this. So again, be sure you're incorporating specific concepts and terms from the course and using them properly to guide your writing. Make sure that you're asking about a number of elements relating to your communication skills, and make sure that you're identifying strengths and weaknesses, and then specific short-term and long-term goals that came out of those interviews. And lastly, overall evaluation. Make sure you spell check, make sure you check for grammatical errors, make sure it's 12-point font, make sure that you're breaking up your thoughts into paragraphs, that it's college level writing. So that's there for you for overall evaluation. So altogether, the paper again is worth 100 points. I'm going to back out of this one more time. And again, you can find all of this under midterm information and resources, and you'll find your midterm paper guidelines and your midterm paper grading rubric there as well. So go ahead and get started on this. If you have any questions, I've opened up a place in the discussion board where you can ask questions specifically about this midterm paper. If you do have a question, feel free to post it in there. Other classmates of yours may have the same question, so then I can answer it there, and everyone will be able to see it. If you're not comfortable doing that, feel free to email me. I'm happy to talk you through anything, or you can stop by during my office hours if you'd like to as well. So hopefully that is a good start explanation for you for your midterm paper. And as we're heading into week 4, I just want to say keep up the good work. You're halfway done, and this midterm paper is due on February 16th by 10 o'clock in the Dropbox, and I'll post plenty of reminders. So good luck.